The price of crude oil are crashing, but so is the price of Bitcoin. Shouldn't it be an inverse relationship where when we have positive developments in geopolitics, like the memorandum of understanding finally being signed between the two parties, shouldn't that drop in oil prices push Bitcoin higher? Well, clearly, it's not what's happening. We're down to 62,900, which if we break below this, which is critical support due to many reasons, then I think we will see a move back into 60.7 and then ultimately into $59,000. Watch this video until the end. It's a very, very critical update. At the end, we're going to cover STRC, Michael Saylor's preferred vehicle of destruction, preferred vehicle of Bitcoin accumulation that has lost a whopping 17% from parity. Guys, if you don't know what STRC is, it's a vehicle that is supposed to trade at $100 where you can escape Bitcoin's volatile environment and earn a passive income as your asset remains at parity. Clearly not what it's doing. I smell warning signs. I smell smoke for strategy. You will find out why at the very end of the update. If you enjoy this video, then please, guys and girls, do me a massive favor and destroy that like button. It would mean the world if we can reach 500 likes on this video. I'm gonna be very happy. So please, if you have a Google account, make sure to destroy the like and let me know in the chat if you're long or short Bitcoin. Here goes the price technical analysis. I see a repetition of, and I think we did a video on this like a few weeks ago, but I'll mention it again. Notice Bitcoin's candlesticks from February until May. We experienced a double bottom. You consolidated upwards, formed a triple top, and then Bitcoin began to topple down. On a smaller scale, we're doing the same concept. W formation, consolidating upwards, triple top, and then toppling down. That's one macro analysis or fractal to share, and it suggests areas lower, and I love the 60.7. It's great support, and there's huge amounts of liquidity trapped at that 59.2K low. Additionally, if you've been following the Moonshow channel and the CryptoKid channel, I've highlighted a bearish pennant and how bearish pennants for Bitcoin specifically love to fake out the bulls by creating a liquidity trap. You break to the upside, it's a fake out, you grab all the liquidity and then you head lower. What is Bitcoin doing? It's doing exactly that, ladies and gentlemen. We broke above, trapped all the bulls, and now we're heading to lower levels. The next critical line of support is in that $60,000 to $61,000 range. And finally, you're going to get that 59K level. If the 60s don't hold, we can reevaluate on that later. Let's see what Bitcoin does here in the short term with respect to the first line of support. The first line of support. Some analysts are even calling the 4-hourly and 1-hourly price action a bear flag, of which support line has been clearly lost and you're heading to the targets of that bear flag. I don't like to use the poll. I like to identify points of support and those just concur with my personal TA. Isaac Crypto was just on my show. We ended the show. I think it's been 10 minutes now. He looked at volume. I don't use too much of volume in my own TA. Isaac Crypto uses volume. We got the point of control lining up at 62.9, where Bitcoin is trading at, as of me recording this video, alongside Golden Pocket and the VWAP support. All of those confer at 62.9. So if you lose that, 60s, if not the low 60s, mid 60s, if not 59.2 is the BTC expectation. Crude oil is dumping. Shouldn't Bitcoin follow an inverse relationship? Yes, usually. For context, let's understand why crude oil is dumping first, and then I will give you the reply to why Bitcoin isn't pumping. President Trump in Versailles, a historically significant place of signing deals. If you're familiar with the Treaty of Versailles, you know the importance of the palace. President Trump signed the Iran Memorandum of Understanding 2 nights ago. It's been released to the news today that it has been signed, and even the full contract was shared by the president of Iran. I will quickly read over the terms I think all of you should know some bits and bobs of it. Number one, paragraph number one states that there will be a permanent termination of all conflict amongst all parties, and then the perpetual, well, they say permanent, but it's permanent until the deal is signed. So this is not a deal, this is a memorandum of understanding. It's like a pledge. People can pledge to donate $1 million to charity, but unless they give $1 million, they wouldn't have donated. They would have only pledged a donation. So a memorandum of understanding is kind of similar. At least you have some things to abide by on a piece of paper, whereas a pledge is almost totally up in the air. But it's good that now there should be no conflict, God willing. And if we get that permanent deal within a period of 60 days, maybe even more, then we can be peaceful and we can have some relief from our chest. 2, Iran and the US are to respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity. 3, talks about that 60-day deadline. 4, opening up of the Strait of Hormuz is the agreement. The Strait of Hormuz is currently experiencing traffic that I've not seen in ages. Not at pre-conflict levels, but clearly big vessels are being transported through the Strait of Hormuz. Amazing. You're opening up 20% of the world's crude oil supply, and hence you're getting the dumpage on crude to match the equilibrium of supply and demand, and that's at $67. We can reach that maybe in the next few days. Ideally, you should reach it when this is concluded for sure, and that's not the case yet. However, if it is, then yeah, that gap at 67 has always been our target to fill eventually, and maybe it happens sooner than originally anticipated. It would be good for inflation, and inflation can slowly start to ease down over future reports. Kuwait is lifting all force majeures with immediate effect. Fantastic news. This is what I mean. President Trump says that the Iran Memorandum of Understanding is not final, and adding if he doesn't like the agreement, they will go back to, God forbid, dropping bombs, right? So this is the thing. It's still ambiguous. It looks to be 85-90% bullish, but 10% gives you that worrying emotion, and I hope they get to that permanent deal so that we can all feel at peace with this, and most importantly, the world becomes at peace, at least in this region of the earth. Pakistan's prime minister deleted a statement on Friday saying that there will be a signing on Friday because we already had the signing. It's actually not bearish. We already had the signing, so it won't be a publicized signing on Friday. We will get Iran and America meeting on Friday, however, to talk about advancements on the execution of this memorandum of understanding. All right. Those are the full updates on Geo. That is the full update on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is breaking that 62.9. Does not look good. Fingers crossed. We shouldn't get an hourly confirmation, but if we do, you know what I think is going to happen next. STRC as Bitcoin plummets 17% off parity. Why is this concerning? Stretch has been Michael Saylor's preferred vehicle of being able to accumulate lots of Bitcoin in an environment where BTC is in a bear market. Hence, the MNAV of MSTR is so low that without diluting shares, reducing shareholder value, you cannot accumulate Bitcoin. As a Bitcoin treasury company, they got to continuously accumulate Bitcoin. So Saylor's solution was invent a product, as they call it, that keeps parity at $100, gives investors the ability to get exposure into Bitcoin without participating in the volatility. And in exchange, you receive a yield. Ouch. In the event that you fall off parity, then to rebalance prices and make the preferred equity lucrative again, they have to increase the dividend. It was at 11.5%. It's now at 13.8%, and still you're at record lows. So they brought it recently to 2 dividends per month, and even that didn't help. SAT-A is at every single day dividends, and they should be off ridiculously from parity too. Yeah, 7%. Doesn't matter how many times they distribute dividends. It all matters about the current yield. That yield, because Strategy is not a company that generates any sorts of revenue from traditional operations of business. They're a treasury company. That dividend is either paid by cash raises that Stretch does via its common A stock MSTR through dilution of MSTR, which makes its shareholder value diminish significantly. They either fund it through that or they sell like 32 Bitcoin they sold to fund these payments. But in both scenarios, it leads to pandemonium. If you sell Bitcoin to pay off a higher dividend, like 20%, 30%, to bring yourself back up to parity, then common A stock will capitulate because you're selling a bunch of Bitcoin. So will STRC demand go lower? Because STRC is built on the fact that common A has a bunch of Bitcoin. That's the security of STRC. And if you raise capital from diluting MSTR shares to pay off higher dividends, then you are diluting investor share value. And that causes common A to reduce anyways. You're getting a huge head and shoulders. I think that MSTR is preparing for disaster. And I see the 50s to 40s being reached again. There's going to be so much support at 78. But I'm not a fan of MSTR, guys. Not a fan at all. If they end up selling Bitcoin to pay off higher dividends, then you could reach a point of seeing a stagnation in the exponential Bitcoin accumulation curve and even a small drift down. That would be horrible. First time ever in history, I'm going to agree with Peter Schiff. Schiff, just read this. I pretty much agree with what Schiff is saying here. First time ever I agree with Schiff. To conclude, SpaceX is heading down as predicted. This is not the end of it. IMO, I don't think that SpaceX is worth 2.3 trillion given how much money they make per year. The frenzy is slowly coming to an end. I'm going to buy either late next year or going into 2028. That's what I'm doing. It's what I'm doing when you have significant IPOs, when retail frenzy hits all-time highs, participation in SpaceX was so absurd. That marks tops in indexes like the S&P. We're getting a bit of a head and shoulders, and we got a lower high with a lower low. Bear market is starting. Crypto Kids, thank you so much for watching this video. Take care, and I'll see you all on the next update soon. Bye-bye, guys.